Welcome, Rebels. In this episode,
he had tools in the back of his old Jeep. And when we really needed the right tool, he'd be like, go get red. And red was our trusty red-handled screwdriver that could not strip a screw and make it work every time. So I love this analogy of having the right tools for the job. But the thing is, as we start to get to know our body, the number one tool that you have is awareness.
You're listening to the Red Couch Rebels, a safe, comfy space for vulnerability and self-growth. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Erin.
We are seekers and self-advocates.
Yeah, we're not your doctors.
Or your therapists.
No, we're just fellow seekers on our own journeys of self-discovery.
Explore your inner rebel with us.
Let's sink in.
Well, we are back with Julie Mavros. And Julie, I so enjoyed our part one conversation with this freaking fly dive bombing me here. We're not editing that out. Sorry about that. I could not ignore that. You can probably
as it
see
lands
it
on your forehead.
Yeah. Anyways.
Make my job easier.
I was trying to say before the fly rudely interrupted me. So enjoyed our part one conversation. I love your energy. It's been so great to get to know you and hear more about you and your rebel, your fierceness, your energy, your resilience. As I've said in part one, I don't have chronic pain, but learning so much from you. So excited to dive into this even deeper and see where we go. And Erin and I were chit-chatting a little bit about part one rolling into part two. And I just was feeling this idea of, you are this thrill seeker. And you said you love to look at things as mountains. And so I don't know if you said this or if this is where my brain went, but this idea of conquering mountains.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, as a transition here, do you or have you had the idea of conquering your pain, and how has that transitioned for you?
Yeah, so funny. I did mention that I feel that I like to conquer mountains, literally and figuratively. So yes, been on base camp up on Mount Rainier since I'm just outside of Seattle.
Awesome.
But also mountains in the sense of when our bodies prevents us from doing what we want to do, and it feels like it's a mountain. And our mindset, getting over that can feel like a mountain.
Yeah.
And how do we go up that mountain? Because the other side is just amazing. Yes, for sure.
Awesome. So getting to the other side and conquering that mountain, what has that required of you? I think we talked about, did we talk about befriending the body? Did we use those words?
Described it, but I don't know if we used the words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say, what was the self-talk and transition in your head that was obviously to conquer that mountain of that everyday mindset and just experience of pain? How did you come to, I think you said before we started to record, become that BFF with your body?
Yes.
How did that transpire?
Yes. Well, I think prior to me becoming, and I love saying, become your best BFF with your body, because prior I was battling my body, which made me further disconnected from myself. And that sure as hell doesn't feel good. So turning that, and how can I work with my body so that ultimately we're able to trust our body again?
Yeah.
Because when you have chronic pain of all many forms and migraines and fibromyalgia and autoimmune issues, we start to lose trust in our body. And that's scary. It's very unnerving. Like the rug can get pulled out from under you at any minute. And so turning that and facing and leaning into what your body has to share with you so that you can truly understand it and what it needs is all part of the puzzle.
Turning toward. Yeah. And I think it's, what do you believe about your body? Right. And so I could only imagine, I mean, at the times when I've had back issues or other minor things in the grand scheme of it, it's been, okay, what did I do wrong? What's, like not looking at my body as the enemy, but yeah, changing the narrative there is such a crucial part. So how do you even start? Because it's like, okay, yes, I need to change my perspective. I've heard that before in relation to, many things in life. Perspective matters, but how do you start?
Yeah. I love this analogy. So I bought my house 10 years ago, and it literally was a zoo, inside and out, filled with animals. It was trashed, and it was actually inhabitable. So I gutted it down to framing and rebuilt it with my dad. And it's really funny because he had tools in the back of his old Jeep. And when we really needed the right tool, he'd be like, go get Red. And Red was our trusty red-handled screwdriver that could not strip a screw and make it work every time, right? So I love this analogy of having the right tools for the job. But the thing is, as we start to get to know our body, the number one tool that you have is awareness. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing with that tool is that you will never lose it because it's always inside of you.
Yeah.
And you have access to it. So I think awareness is a beautiful starting point. So how do we do awareness, right? What does that look like? We can read all the books, have all this knowledge, but how do we implement, right? Yeah. So I think awareness of just having those quiet moments with yourself. Life is very busy. Having those quiet moments to actually tune in. I love doing a full body scan, even while you lay on the pillow before you even get out of bed in the morning. Yeah. Or it's your ritual as you go to bed, once you put your head on the pillow. Take those moments with awareness and check in.
What do you do once you have the awareness and you check in? When you have chronic pain that isn't just going to go away. So is that when you set the tone of what do I need today when you wake up, or?
For sure. Yeah. Okay. It's funny. However, if you set an alarm clock and you hit snooze and it gives you those 9 minutes, or at least my snooze is set for 9 minutes.
I think mine's 8. Okay. I don't know how that happened, but
I scotched another minute. And in those 9 minutes, getting in touch, doing a body scan head to toe, and asking yourself, what do I need today? And then if whatever that message is, as you are quiet and you listen, okay. Then the question is, how do I get to honor my body today? And that message that it gave you. Ultimately, we want to build trust.
Yeah.
Right? And be BFFs with our body. And how we do that is by having that awareness and then actually implementing it.
Yeah.
So if you have, let's just say, a really busy day ahead, like you're committed to like drive kids to soccer and you got a whole load of kids in the back of your car, rowdy, rowdy, rowdy. And you know you have that, right? What do you need? What does your body need prior to picking up all those kids and doing the carpool? What does your body need after? Is that picking up those kids in that rowdy car? Is that something that will drain your energy or not? It might not. But if it does, how can you go into that situation with a full tank?
Yeah.
Whether that is having some quiet prior, going on a slow walk, movement. What do you need for your body? Kind of, I like to be ahead of the game. If you're going into a situation that might be depleting, how can we fill your tank up full brim? Because when energy levels drop, that definitely can be a trigger for inflammation and migraines. So I love being ahead of it.
Is there anything else that you would say is like a starting or building block to this before we kind of go off on any other questions that are popping up? I don't want to distract from the initial question.
I think awareness is your first step as you start to uncover what I refer to as the language of the body.
Okay.
What's your body trying to share with you? Right? If I have a real stress time at work within my job, how do you counterbalance that? What does your body need to counterbalance? So uncovering this language of your body allows you access to learn with clarity how best to move forward to address your stress, your pain, and what support your body needs.
What does that language look like? I'm thinking, the context of, all right, I've tried to teach myself Spanish before a trip many, many years ago, probably 16, 17 years ago, before a trip to Paris, I tried to teach myself French. So I know words. That's all I know, right? I could not speak fluently in either of those languages. But what, when you say language of the body, what do you mean?
Sure. So, first off, a little footnote asterisk is I do believe stress and pain are two sides of the same coin, right? So when you have increased stress, very likely you're going to have an increase in pain levels. Also an increased uptick with your nervous system. But let's just focus with stress and pain. So if we look, I love first diving into, let's explore all these areas that create stress. And different types of stress lands in your body differently. So recognizing where stress first lands in your body and getting aware, is that just a tightening around your throat? Do you feel it? Some people feel it in their stomach.
Yeah.
Right? Some people feel this tension start at the base of the skull and work down to the top of their shoulders. That gets tight. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So understanding where your cues are and slowly like peeling layers of the onion back and learning where is that in your body Okay. So if it's in my stomach, for example, what does that feel like? Does it have a texture? Does that stress have a color? And really get to know it so that when it happens, you could be like consciously aware of it so that when that starts trickling in, now you get empowered choice because it's only through awareness, which then we get empowered choice on what you want to do next.
And I think it takes time.
Yeah.
You know, like the learning those things, it is a practice of paying attention and like if you do feel it in your stomach, recognizing what is it trying to tell you. You might not learn that till you feel it in your stomach and you watch your day go by like 5 times. Like it can take a while to connect those patterns, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like learning those other languages. It's not an immediate thing because you have to learn what each of those little signals means to you because there's no book on this. This is a language that is all alone your own, right?
Yes.
There's no guides to it.
It's a relationship you need to nurture and spend time with.
It's definitely like Groundhog's Day. Until you start to figure out what that means for you. And there's a lot of trial and error in that. Again, that's where we give ourselves grace.
Is there a correlation between where they're experiencing the pain and where the stress is? Like, are they always one and the same or is it different?
Oh, it can be different.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you have pain somewhere, right? Maybe I'm working with someone who has had a hip replacement, right? Yet when she feels stress, it first lands in her right shoulder. And then it travels down her spine and into that left hip.
Yeah.
Right? We all have different pain patterning. So that's something also that's a little more advanced once we get going along and understanding your old pain patterning and how we can interrupt that cycle through awareness, where you then have the power to go, oh, okay, I know this drill. Yeah. And it's a slow, and it's not like these big, massive leaps and changes to interrupt a pain patterning. It's how can I pivot just 1%? 1% will completely change the outcome on where you end up. Maybe it's when I feel this pressure just start to shift in my head, that's my cue that I need to go drink a whole big glass of water. That is how you get to honor your body and what it is sharing with you with that awareness.
Yeah. I was just going to say, so it's based on what you shared at the beginning, the awareness paired with the actual honoring. What are you doing now to listen and take action on that? So it sounds like that language is also the awareness of where's the pain, where's the stress, what are you feeling, and then how to nourish, how to the things that might provide care, comfort, peace, whatever it is, to address some of that. It feels like there's some language and experimentation in that as well.
For sure. Yes.
You had said that it's a slow journey, and I leaned into that a little bit too, but I'd also like to challenge people to not look at it as work because it's not something that you're going to want to do if it feels like work. When I started leading into embodiment, it excited me because it was a new way to get to know myself, right? So like it was like, oh, like this is my own little secret world in here, and nobody else gets to teach me it, and I get to discover it. If you approach it with compassion and curiosity, there's so much to uncover there, and it's your own little choose your own adventure there. And it's also very empowering because you get to do something different now, because you know the old saying of do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. So in this new language, you get to feel empowered to make different choices for yourself, so you could possibly get different results.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't view it as work either. I love, I have a term, your wellness why, and diving into what is your why? Why do you want to make some changes with your body, your life, right? And in doing that, exploring how you want to feel and what does that mean to you, and why is that important to you? And and let that lead with inspiration. I think motivation, we hear a lot about motivation. Motivation, it's funny, Erin, I do equate motivation with, quote, work, right? I have all these things. I need to be motivated. I got to do these things, and which is really, in my mind, heavy as it adds to your to-do list,
right?
Your mental to-do list for that day. Like, I have to do this. I have to go on a walk 10 minutes. I have to do some meditation, right? The motivation, I need to be more motivated. When really, I love to look at inspiration, which can feel light. And why do we want to lean into these areas and what that means for you? I was talking to a woman recently, and her inspiration is so that she can keep her independence and what that means to her and why independence is important to her, and to have that freedom and independence moving her body. That's her inspiration. So when you think about, I get to go on this 15-minute walk after dinner just to move to loosen, not to fully exercise, to move to loosen, and to consciously shift that into breathing and movement and reminding yourself and feeling my body is moving so that I can have this independence.
I think that a lot of people might be wondering, how do I fit in the 15 minutes? Right? No, I mean, realistically, I want people to walk away from this feeling like it is possible, and the loads that are on our to-do list can be so heavy. And I think that when I put myself in the shoes of someone who might be dealing with chronic pain or migraines, I think, would you say that they have to have more space in their life than someone who doesn't, so that they have some flexibility?
I would say no.
Really?
Because I would counter that with, if you have chronic pain and you are pushing through, that takes so much more energy that you have to muster to get through your day. I'm all about taking things off people's plates. So looking at your day, what's important, what's not important? Are there some shoulds on that list?
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you look at people with chronic pain who are, the only analogy is like spinning plates. We have all these spinning plates up in the air, and it's this delicate balance because if one falls, then they all come crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of energy to keep these spinning plates up in the air.
There's an image kind of coming to me about when you're building your schedule for the day is you start with the must-dos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like get those in there. Like we need to eat, our kids need to eat, right? Things, right? But there are the must-dos. And then would you say the next things coming in are maybe the next level of must-dos is what does your body need when you do that body scan in the morning? Like these are, you know what I'm saying? Like I have work or whatever it is that you have that is a must-do. But then the next layer or next level would be the must-do, honor my body. And the shoulds and the want tos almost have to come after that because you're not going to be able to do the want to if you didn't do the honoring of your body.
Yes. I also, not every day do we hit every mark, right?
Yeah.
I love looking at a week on a whole. So I work with people with my whole body empowered framework, where I infuse the body mind method to reconnect and understand your body, and also lifestyle medicine, which is these 6 pillars to transform your health. But in doing so, you're decreasing your pain. So on a whole of your week, and however that looks like, if we look at those 6 pillars of exercise, nutrition, hydration, sleep, stress resilience, positive social connections, where, you know, two friends are sitting together on a red couch, you know, and avoidance of risky substances, right? So we have all these areas. And how can we lean into an area that just needs a little more support for our body and not take on the world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had some questions. We had posted on social before we had our interview today. This is something new that we're trying because we really want to be building the community aspect both on the Rebellion Network, but also those just listening in on the podcast. And do you want to read some of the questions?
Yeah. So one comes from a Rebellion Podcast Plus member. A rebel. I mean, everybody that listens, we will call you rebels. But this question was, have you ever experienced hopelessness as a result of not being taken seriously by your doctors or starting to worry that you were going crazy and making the pain up in your head? So that's part 1 of the question. I'll pause.
Yeah.
For that, because there's a lot there.
Yeah. That is definitely the undercurrent of just about everyone I work with.
Yeah.
Because pain is the unseen. And a lot of times doctors or whoever you're working with might not acknowledge it. But you know.
Yeah.
You know you're not crazy. You know that you experience it. In those times, first off, I have a whole soapbox on finding the right doctor, but
that's an important piece of it, though.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And I get when we are in small towns, we're limited by access and doctors. I've worked with people from all parts of the country. And one man was like, I think I need to move because he really had no access But side note from that, I think to remind yourself that this is your experience and to acknowledge and take that moment and validate. And having validation that the struggles that you go through and you seek out to try to find help takes energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to keep seeking, for sure.
Yeah.
Because you know you're not crazy. You know that this is your experience.
So I'm hearing, yes, absolutely. This is a common thing people have felt. So to this rebel listener and podcast member, you are not going crazy. Just to underline that. Absolutely not. And really anyone listening who's experienced this as well, you are not going crazy. So how do you then move past those feelings in order to trust yourself enough to heal? And you talk a bit about that in some of the things we've discussed already. Building trust is an important piece. But what, I guess, from all of that, or perhaps something new, would you highlight?
On how to start to heal with that.
How do you move past those feelings in order to start building trust? And I mean, I guess knowing that it's likely coming from the doctors or maybe others around you that aren't validating that pain.
Yeah.
How do you move past those other voices?
Right. That internal chatter that can go round and round in our head can be very loud at times.
Yeah.
And which doesn't help because we stay stuck in those loops, in that mindset. So how to quiet that chatter? First off, these are the messages that you might be receiving, that you're crazy, this is in your head, right? So then whenever your pain levels increase, that's the only thing that's on repeat, right? So I like to ask a couple of questions. First off, is that true? Are you crazy? Is this in your head? No.
Yeah.
No. Your truth is no. The other question I like to ask is that mine? So that voice, that internal chatter that keeps telling you, oh God, I'm crazy. I must be crazy. Is that yours? No, that's that doctor that told you you were. So that's not yours. And you can return to sender, send that messaging right back to him or her. Right? So I think being really clear on our mindset and how we talk to ourselves, it's so easy for us to be hypercritical of our body when it feels like it's failing us.
Yeah.
So coming back to that, is that mine? And is that true? And most often, the question is no.
Yeah.
So let's keep you connected and recentered into your being, grounded, without being tossed around in the wind.
It sounds like a bit of that rebel.
That inner truth.
Yeah. Needs to
share that too.
Needs to step forward, access that in whatever way we each individually can. Those are great questions. Simple, but great questions. I think that can be applied across the board. I mean, to pain or to any external perception or comments that might weigh us down or
hold us back.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. All right. One of the other questions was if you could share a little bit about what you know about silent migraines or vestibular migraines. This person experiences vertigo and tinnitus and essentially shared no pain, but it's awful.
Yes. Yes. For sure. With anybody who suffers from migraines on the whole gamut, there's so many different types of migraines. I love backing it up and asking, talk to me about what went on in your life 5 days ago. What did that look like? Did you have a big presentation at work coming up? So maybe your stress has increased. Maybe you ate food on the go because you're working hard on this project. You come home those few nights, you're still thinking about it, rolling around, so you're not getting great sleep. Since you're not getting great sleep, now you're adding a little more caffeine than normal. Right? Caffeine is a known.
You've done it.
Caffeine is a known trigger. A lot of the times it's finding out what your balance, what your that tipping point is for you. If you're working on that project, are you on a computer screen a lot and you have an extra eye strain? And then maybe driving home, you needed easy foods. You stopped by Costco and you walked into that energy when your energy was dragging with those bright lights coming down. I do have one client who puts on a baseball cap before she walks into Costco because it just helps shade that light coming into the eyes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this buildup, and then a migraine happens. And a lot of times we're like, God, where did that come from? But if we back it up to look at, and unfortunately with migraines, it's rarely one trigger that gets ya. It's normally a few. So figuring out what your combination is really helpful. It could be sleep and alcohol. It could be stress and caffeine. Increased stress. If we have too much caffeine, caffeine's a lovely vasoconstrictor and is also used in a lot of migraine medications as it constricts down those blood vessels that are dilated and pounding and pressing on nerves in your brain, in your eyeballs. So sometimes if we overuse caffeine, then it's not really effective if you take any sort of migraine medication. There's a lot of combinations, but figuring out, that's part of uncovering this language of your body, of what are your unique triggers specifically for you, right? To prevent. Now, when you're in the height of it, right? If it does feel like, well, geez, now I got to drive home. If I'm at work, I got to drive home while I still can in order to get to my freezer to pull on my ice cap. I think, especially with vestibular, dizziness, all of that. So in those moments, I then would ask, what does your body need? And it's tough if you're at work and if you're stuck or if you're at a kid's soccer game, right? But what does your body need? Does it need you just to lay down and be quiet? Migraines respond really well to sleep. A lot of times we are depleted, especially around our sleep. And migraines and sleep can help kind of reset some things.
Yeah.
But I think going back, I don't talk about what happened that day when you start getting a migraine, but I go back, I want to look at like what was happening 3 days prior, what was happening even 5 days prior, because there's a lead up and we start putting some pieces to that puzzle together.
Sounds like they need a journal.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I could remember 5 days ago.
It all gets blurred together. Yeah.
Especially since there's such subtle things that could be happening that aren't even in your awareness at the time, right? So like the practice of journaling could help bring it into your awareness. Not that you have to journal forever, but maybe while you're building that language or that relationship with your body, and to be able to start pinpointing those things. The thing that sucks is I hate journaling.
Well, especially, I mean, I've tried a food journal to a degree, but I'm such a, like, I'm a bird. I just snack and nibble like pretty much all day long. So it's like, it just feels like a
well, the
never
good
ending.
thing is, the good thing is, like for diet, for example, we know some real common triggers, diet related, any of the inflammatory foods, the dairy, the gluten, chocolate, alcohol,
I love me some chocolate,
right? Soy, artificial sweeteners, right?
So like elimination diets, basically, or saying to check and see if those are triggers for people.
Yeah.
Well, I first go, talk to me about 5 days ago, 3 days ago. Let's go back,
See if one of those is in there. Yeah.
I mean, it could be just a sleep issue that you didn't sleep as soundly. Could be a stress issue. Could be that your energy levels got too far depleted.
Yeah. Do you think this can all be correlated to like migraines alongside even just other bodily discomfort? If it's, digestive issues, stomach, like, have you worked with people in that realm as well?
Sure.
Where I just envision that 5 days, 3 days, day prior being really helpful. I had a friend reach out and say, does anyone else think I could blame the moon for feeling like I'm, just struggling? And I think there's a lot to be said with, sure, it could be food related, but I think stress and the weight that's put on us is a huge piece of it as well. So,
and I think that goes back to awareness, right? And reflecting back and reflecting how that affected your body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that maybe after a big tough week and a presentation and all this stress, and you did it, you made it, and then you celebrate with happy hour with friends, right?
Yeah.
Woo, Lordy. Throw some alcohol on top of all the other pieces that happen those 5 days. Again, it's just and that's why, having that awareness and reflect and to start putting those pieces together and connecting some dots. Migraines can be very frustrating because they're not always the same. And they change over the years. My triggers are not what they were long ago. I will have to say, in the very beginning, suffering a brain injury, fractured skull, and everything that I went through, I did everything. Everything was a trigger for me. I had all my foods checked. Everything was a trigger. And slowly over time, it can adjust and shift as your body heals. I can enjoy sourdough bread. Otherwise, I'm a no gluten girl, you know, but sourdough is lower glycemic index, and it's using bacteria, that sourdough starter, right? Changes in, and because it's a lower glycemic index, you're not going to have those big spikes and dips with your blood sugar, which again is a migraine trigger, having those ups and downs, you know. So for me, figuring out a little more, I lean more paleo in that sense, just to keep my blood sugar even. I was doing paleo pretty much before the word, I knew about the word. This is, 30 years ago with all my elimination. But now I don't have to live that way. As my body has healed and my nervous system has healed, I have way more freedom within this range. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I've taken some notes today, which I don't normally do, but I've been a little scatterbrained lately. It's kind of fun to like look back at like what you have been suggesting to people. What I heard you say in part one was the preparation. If you know that something's coming up that could be triggering to the pain, or if you have a procedure coming up, having the household prepare. Right? Like, I don't know if you used it that way, but I think that's how I would approach it, is that the whole household needs to prepare for that time where you may be laid up, and maybe have a few extra freezer meals ready to go in the freezer at all times, so that you have some flexibility when these times for rest are really needed. And then I just kind of wanted to summarize for people, the awareness piece you're saying is a great place to begin, is to start developing that relationship with your body, learn the language of your body, and make it a goal to put your honoring what your body's telling you it needs on your schedule as much as possible. Or it's probably going to lay you out on your back, right? Like, that's the reality of it. And in that sense, I think people with that you're describing here, they have less of a choice in doing this. Like, these are things that I've worked on with my clients as well. But it's kind of it feels optional when you don't have pain driving you flat, right? And I love the idea of letting it be a fun exploration and getting to know yourself, and becoming BFFs with your body. That's beautiful. I'm hoping that people are going to be able to walk away with this with like some actual steps that they feel like they can take, and the validation that just because it's not seen, it doesn't mean it's not, you're going crazy, or that it's a lot of great stuff we covered in these 2 hours. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Sometimes there's something lingering in the background of your consciousness.
How about this? So I know I've talked about, through all this awareness and uncovering the language of your body, so that you know how to have clarity with how to address your stress, pain, and support. If people are confused and need just a starting place, I do have a free resource that I'd love to throw out there.
Awesome.
For everyone. It's called Your Pathway Through Pain Workbook. And it pretty much takes the guesswork out of what to do and when, whether you're one side of it is for acute pain phase. Another side of it is what I refer to as maintenance phase, on just how we support our body in the day-to-day. Again, that's leans more into the prevention, but also there's information on what to do in those acute moments.
That's great, Julie.
Yeah. I don't know if you can put that in the show notes somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's at, you can find that on my website.
It out everywhere.
Yeah, at juliemavros.com/resources. Yeah, and to grab that. Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. Well, I am super grateful for your time and everything that you've shared. Like I said at the start of the episode, it's been so great to get to know you. And I feel like I probably say this like every episode, but I feel like there's so many other additional nuggets and pathways we could explore.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to pick that up another time.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's the fun of deep conversations. Is it seems like it does surface just more questions, but I really feel like you've given a lot of people a great starting place here. And thank you for answering my questions around how the people around the people with chronic pain can be supportive and understand a little bit more. So thank you so much for your time, Julie.
Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. We'll be in touch. I think I'm actually going to post some additional questions in your space on the Rebellion Network. So
Wonderful.
We'll pick up some dialogue and exploration together there. Thank you so much for joining us on the Red Couch. We would love if you would head on over and subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. It helps us tremendously as we rebel against the status quo of disconnection. We need you. We appreciate you. You can also head on over to our website, redcouchrebels.com, to send us a note and explore your inner rebel with us on our online network. We'd love to see you there.